first of all, thank you for joining me on the podcast. Nice
Thanks for hosting me.
No, not a problem. It's nice to actually meet. We've been chatting a little bit on Instagram, and it's just nice to be able to, put a voice and everything in the face to a person. So it's really, really cool.
Absolutely. I was just telling somebody just the other day, like, one of the most amazing things about the Ninja Warrior community, I feel like we're all connected in some regard. Like, we a lot of us have never competed together, but we all follow each other on social media, and we pick up conversations on social media. So you feel like you know a person, and then when you actually meet them, it's like, oh, I don't think we've actually ever met. I know we've talked, like I know so much about you, but we've never actually met. So it's such a beautiful thing, and it's such a testament to this community that we're in. And I mean, I think that goes the same for this instance right here. Like we've talked. I think I think my Legos is what sparked the conversation, right?
I love them. Gave me some good childhood memories right there. It's like,
yeah.
Wow.
I know, right? It's hard to beat Legos.
Oh, 100%. So Karen, obviously, you've been in the community for a while. Tell me, and obviously you mentioned you were playing hockey. What were you like, I guess, as a kid? Like, how active were you as a kid? What, were you playing Legos then, or were you, outside or indoors? Were you a gamer? I don't know. What were you like as a kid?
No, I did a lot of that. Gaming, not so much. So let's see, I was born in the late 70s, so I'm a product of the 80s. So Atari and Nintendo, that's about it in terms of my gaming experience. But no, always very active as a kid. My dad, was always had me at the park and doing more of the extreme things at the park. I remember one instance, I was probably 3 years old, and we were at the park with my grandma, and he had me up on the timber that suspended the tire swing. And he had me walking across the top of that, and my grandma was about ready to faint when she saw that. I climbed trees from a really early age, and there's an instance, I was probably 5, and I'd climbed up to the tree, and my mom was in their second story bedroom window, and I'm waving to her, and so she's freaking out that I'm that high in the tree. But no, sports was always my big thing. I mean, my parents had me in that, in the swimming lessons at 6 months old, like the old school way where you're, at the YMCA and they're dunking you in the water to get you and then bringing you up. But so it started with swimming lessons, gymnastics for, a year or two. But I started doing t-ball and soccer at probably age 6. And when I was growing up, I wanted to be the first professional Major League Baseball player. So I played baseball with the boys up until high school. And then that's when I realized soccer was probably going to sustain me a little bit longer. So that's when I switched over to soccer year round. I did cross country in high school to stay in shape for soccer, because here in Illinois, girls soccer is in the spring, whereas a lot of states it's in the fall. So I ran cross country and played club soccer in the fall, indoor soccer in the winter, and then high school soccer in the spring, and then back to club summer. So I was playing soccer year round. And then it wasn't until, and then I played it at Arizona State University. And then it wasn't until my junior year at Arizona State that they got a women's hockey team. And I had never played organized hockey, but I learned how to skate at an early age. Growing up in the suburbs of Chicago, we skated and played pond hockey a ton. I grew up on a cul-de-sac, so we played a lot of roller hockey. So I was comfortable skating. I knew how to play. I just never played organized. So I ended up doing that in college and had an absolute blast. So, and, it was funny. I'd put my pads and equipment on, and I felt, I'm 5'6", maybe 119, 120 pounds. I put my equipment on. I felt like I was 6'5", 285 and could run. I just felt invincible. So yeah, so that was growing up. And then after college, dabbled in soccer a little bit. And then got into triathlons. From there, I started doing the Tough Mudders. So I did the first ever Tough Mudder.
Okay. Wow.
Back in, gosh, that was 2007 or 2008, out in New Jersey. And so did a number of those. And was just doing a ton of running, beating up my body quite a bit with that. In college, I had a stress fracture at L5, and at some point it ended up fracturing. So I had a stress fracture at L5, and did a lot of rehab for it. Had to take a little bit of time off.
How did you do that?
It was just one of those things that just happened. It was a stress fracture. Something triggered that, and then at some point, like no known occurrence. There was no specific instance. It was just, I think, pressure and stress over time. And so that's just had like residual effects. And then with that, that was 1996. So a couple years ago. So there's just been some like residual effects from that, just from all the overcompensation. And then, up until, like 2015, I was running like 40 miles a week. So my hips were just out of whack. And so I needed to take some time off. And then that's when I found Ninja.
So you were already into the obstacle stuff.
Yeah.
You done Tough Mudder. What was it about Tough Mudder that you liked? What drew you to that?
It was just pushing yourself to the extremes and like doing just some crazy extreme challenges. The first one that we did, that was in New Jersey. I had just come off a dislocated foot that I did, like that happened playing soccer, and I did intense rehab, like getting ready to be able to do this, because I was doing this with my trainer, Josh Zittimer. He's out in New York, and we decided to do this together. And so, like, I'm not missing this. Because this was actually, it wasn't the first Tough Mudder, it was the second one. It was the first obstacle, or the first Tough Mudder where they actually had the electric wires. So it was It was before anybody even knew that was the shtick for Tough Mudders. So it was like 38 degrees. It was absolutely freezing and raining, and it was probably good because my foot was numb within the first mile and a half, so I couldn't feel it. But it was just one of those things. I like pushing my body to see how far I can take it, and being in that extreme cold, and I think that was like it was an 8 or 10 mile course. The obstacles weren't overly challenging, but in the elements, in the rain, in the cold, it made it a little more challenging. And 6 miles in, you can't feel your hands either, and but I'll never forget, we got to the finish, and we saw it was all the wires were hanging down, and I'm like, what? We had no idea what it was. And there's a sign that said, if you have a pacemaker, we advise you to skip this obstacle. And we're like, what is it? It looked like weeping willow branches, like just weeping willow branches suspended from like a decking. So I just ran through. I got through it fine because I was wearing a rubber swim cap the entire time, because the first obstacle was jumping off that plank into the water and then swimming 200 yards or so to the other end. And I'm like, it's 38 degrees. I'm not going to have wet hair for the next miles. So I had this swim cap on, and I kept it on after the water just because it was keeping the heat in. So I don't know if that's what helped me, but my trainer, Josh, he was running through, and next thing I know, like, he's down on the ground. I'm like, get up. What's wrong? And he's like, this can't be legal. I'm like, what? I still had no idea what was happening or why he was on the ground, like shaking. So Come to find out, he was getting shocked.
Oh man, I'm glad I haven't done a Tough Mudder. I don't think I'd survive. I don't think I'd get past. I don't think I'd get halfway.
Those, I think the Spartan ones, they're a little more tactful. Like they're, it's still a lot of obstacles and fun obstacles and challenging, but you're not having to worry about getting electrocuted.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't have any, I guess, lure to Spartan or Tough Mudder. I don't know, something about just the running and then getting wet and then the mud. It's not so much the obstacles. I'm sure the obstacles are fine and simple, but
Yeah.
it's like I don't want to deal with all those
You
elements.
want to be comfortable.
Yeah, and I want to be done in 5 minutes.
Yeah. That's a little. That's where the difference is.
Yes, that's the big one. So,
yeah.
How did you find yourself getting into the ninja world? I'm assuming it was like all of us.
It's funny. So I had just had an MRI in my hip, and was told I need to just take a little bit of time off of running. And literally later that week, my friend Patricia Roy, she's down in Atlanta, she sent me a video, and it was Casey Catanzaro. And she, it was the first time she hit the buzzer, and she sent me this video, and she's like, why aren't you doing this? And I watched the video. I'm like, I have no idea what this is, but this looks awesome. This is what so I forwarded the video to Josh, my trainer. I said, this is what I want to train for. So that was like summer of 2014, and submitted that fall, and then got called to compete in season 7. And I hadn't met any of the Chicago guys yet. I had never been to a ninja gym, so I didn't. I started rock climbing. Like I got a coach to help with some rock climbing. Like, gosh, that January of like 2015. So I did like 2 months of rock climbing, because I'd never been to a rock climbing gym. And so it was still just doing, more functional lifting, and a lot of TRX, a lot of body weight stuff, a lot of HIIT workouts. But he changed the dynamic of my program a little bit, just to try to tailor it to, the appropriate strength needs requirements. But without being on obstacles, there's no way to train properly for obstacles. So my first time touching an obstacle was on the platform in Kansas City at season 7.
Oh,
so
that's crazy. So you get selected, and it's interesting because all the processes that you have are a bit different to how they operate here in Australia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have to, keep everything a secret. We can't tell people until they give us permission leading up to the airing of the shows. So
you can't tell people that you even competed.
No.
Really?
No. So it's very different. And there's more stages. We even have an audition process. So not only do we have to submit a video, but then if you have to get invited to tryouts. And we do a big fitness test and interviews with all the producers. Yeah. It's a much
different process.
Yeah, much bigger process. So you get your call. That's probably the big difference. We get an email. Like that's how we get a mass email, and it's either yes or no. So you get the call from Peter.
Is it the same Peter?
No, I'm saying you. I'm talking about you. You get the call. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
No, mine was a little bit tricky because I had to get Peter to call my mother because I couldn't put my Australian number in the application, and then she sent him my number, and then we had to back and forth work out the time zones.
Oh my gosh!
It was like a 36-hour I knew what was going to happen, but it was like such a nerve-wracking 36 hours trying to align it. But anyway, so you get the call from Peter. You get to the course. What was it like for you when they showed you the course? What was going through your mind, if you remember?
So the way that Kansas City was set up, there's a berm right outside of Union Station, and so we could sit I got in there a day or two early, And so I just went and hung out on the berm and watched all the testers. And it's funny. I spent this weekend with Michelle Warnke and her husband in Ohio, and it was actually at that, sitting on the berm is when I met Michelle for the first time, and we were talking about that. It's funny to like look back on those moments. But so watching it was the steps, that's when they were just the traditional quintuple steps. Those, seemed fine. But of course it was, easy to get in my own head, like, okay, they're probably further apart than they really seem. And, it's just the initial nerves. But, and then the second obstacle was the Big Dipper, launching to a rope ladder. And so I was somewhat hesitant about that. Just because any type of kipping motion, and at that point, like, I still didn't know how to, move my body and get through the air and kip and all the things you're supposed to be able to do. And
sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt your flow. Are you talking about when you were sitting up with watching down on the testers? Or are you talking about when you're actually there and they're doing the demos?
Well, this was still just watching the testers.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I'm watching the testers, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, because I know, like, anything where I have to throw my hips and generate power through my hips, that is my weakest link. that's what I suck at. Like, just with my back, and then that low transverse core, like, it's just dead. No matter how much core work I do, my transverse core is pretty weak.
Interesting.
So just looking at that, and then so that one seemed a little bit daunting, and that is where I ended up going out. But and it was also, I mean, I just had no idea, like, how to hold. Like, even now I'm holding like this switch grip, but I was going like this. And I remember being in Ninja Holding and talking to some of the people that I was meeting there, and they were, kind of playing with the idea of going this way. And I'm like, well, I don't know, that just doesn't feel comfortable. It was actually Brandon Mears. We were talking through that, and he's like, well, don't, if you've never done this and that doesn't feel comfortable, don't do it. But I remember I was so straight the entire time that by the time I got down to the second dip, it just yanked me right off.
So after you'd watch it on top of the hill, and then you're being shown all the obstacles, what was then, I guess, going through your mind once you could actually see, okay, this is the rough distance? And obviously, even when you're on the sideline, you don't see the real perspective.
Right.
So
sideline was a totally different perspective too.
Yeah. What was going through your mind? And, like, were you having doubts? Were you questioning what you were doing, or were you?
I do legitimately remember looking at the Big Dipper, and this is when the first iteration of it, so it was just the initial, like, the smaller version. But I do remember looking at it thinking, like, this is going to be a stretch. Like, how do I figure out how to do this in the next 90, in the next 6 hours? But I knew going into that first season, it was probably going to be a challenge. Like, I really didn't know what I was getting myself into, to be quite honest. I mean, it looked cool and fun, and it obviously is. But I wasn't prepared as I should have been. But at that point, I still hadn't, we had one gym in Chicago at that point. So, but things have changed quite a bit in the last 5 years. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So when you, obviously, once you'd seen the course, you're talking about it, how did you feel, if you remember, when you got to the platform? What was that moment like for you?
It was, so this was also the other thing. Like, I had no idea that it just films all through the night. So it was just me and my dad. My mom, she was, I think, just having back surgery. She wasn't able to come. But so it was just me and my dad, and we had no idea what to expect. And, like, I had a few snacks in my bag, but getting there at 6 o'clock in the evening and then not competing till just after 5 a.m. Like it was, I was not expecting that. Like that was news to me. Or like I wasn't expecting to, be up all night, on my feet all night. I had a blast. I mean, the adrenaline was pumping the entire time, which totally helped. And meeting so many people and, realizing how quickly, how amazing everybody is. But no, I was not prepared to be up overnight and then, trying to compete at 5 a.m. So I remember, just doing whatever I could to stay loose and to stay moving. And and then I remember being, when they call you, it's like you're in the next group of 5. So then they take you back behind the stage and you're just kind of doing what you can to stay warm and move around. And part of me is like, is this really happening now? But again, after being there for 12 hours, it was just a long night, a fun night, but a very long night. It was just a night of so many firsts. And after that, I knew I was able to prepare much better.
So you said you said before you went out on the second obstacle. Were you happy? Were you annoyed at yourself?
No, there were so many things I wish I would have at least attempted differently. Knowing what I know now, I wish I would have done switch grip. I wouldn't have been completely dead hanged. I would have led with my body. I would have got my heels back behind me. Like there's just so much that I know now that I didn't know then. So, but again, it comes down to preparation. And I wasn't equipped to prepare as I needed to for that first season. But you as a competitive person, going out that early, like that's never fun.
No.
So it was definitely very humbling.
Okay. And then so after that, because I think this is where this is a very defining moment for a lot of people who are new to ninja, who get on the show and not are fully prepared. This is a moment where it's either they're gonna want to rise again and do better, or they're absolutely crushed. And obviously, I'm sure that wasn't the case for you. But how did you internalize what happened, and then what happened to you after that, moving forward with your training?
So after that, I was at the Ninja Gym the next week. So I got to know Dan Palizzi and Brandon Mears and Ethan Swanson. And so figured out where it is that they train. And so I started going there as soon as I got back to Chicago. So, and
awesome.
Yeah, and started learning a little bit more. I still, to this day, have so much more to learn. But it was great just to kind of find a place where I could go every week and get some actual training in, and then started doing the competitions. We'd go as groups. There'd be a group from Chicago that would go out to competitions in Ohio and Michigan, and so it was a ton of fun. And had some successes on some of the local course or the local competitions. So it was a ton of fun. That's where I just started getting to know people in the community even more, and it's really just become such a part of me.
Oh, absolutely. I think we can all relate on that aspect. When you started training with Ethan and Polisi and Mears, did you feel intimidated or insecure about at all?
Sorry, I'm realizing it's kind of dark. Is my lighting okay?
Yeah, no. Yeah,
okay.
I can see you fine.
Okay.
Yeah, were you feeling a little bit intimidated by training with Ethan? Again, I don't know how good Ethan was in season 7. Obviously, he's amazing. He's an absolutely amazing now. I'm sure he was exceptional then, but obviously I know he's gotten better. did you, was there any intimidation on your part, being a woman and training with these guys and going?
Intimidating? No, I wouldn't say intimidating. I would say, I mean, if anything, they pushed me, and they taught me so much, and they were always, spending time with me, making sure I was, knowing what to do, knowing how to do it properly. Dan even still gives me a hard time about my pull-ups and my poor form on pull-ups and kipping pull-ups to this day, and like chest to bar pull-ups. I hate pull-ups. They are my weakness. I do need to work on them more. But yeah, he's worked with me for years on trying to get like a kipping pull-up that would help with the salmon ladder, and that's just where like it just doesn't connect in my body. Like I know what I want my body to do, it's just not doing it. But no, they've been super supportive and helpful, and it doesn't matter what your ability is or what your skill level is. It's open to everybody, and they're not going to say, no, you can't come train with us because you're going to slow us down. There's sometimes I definitely feel like that. Like I don't ever want to slow them down. Like even now, like at Ultimate Ninjas, like when Ethan and Torres and Chris and Jesse, when they get together to train, I'm like, I don't. there's yeah, that's different level. It's fun to watch them.
Yeah. I realized that.
Can't keep up with that.
I realized that when I went climbing with them and with
right?
with Tyler. That was
yeah.
That was real fun to watch. It wasn't very fun to do. I was
right?
I was
I know.
so
It gets frustrating.
bad.
But it's the climbing. Like I'll go climbing with them, but like when they're training in the gym, I'll gladly spectate. Do my own thing on the side. But yeah, when they start putting courses together, that's just comical.
That's funny. No, it's just because when we were climbing, they're doing some very high grades, and I'm not very technical, and I'm not really good at climbing. And I was doing really badly, falling off V4s, and I just kept thinking, man, they probably think I'm the biggest joke. Here's this.
They don't at all.
I know. Just in my head, I'm like, man, here's this Australian dude randomly just popping up. Hey, can I train with you guys? And just doing an awful job.
But they don't like they welcome you just as they would anybody else.
Oh, I know. They did. No, it was great. I was like, I was inspired.
Ourselves up more than anybody. We're our worst critics.
Oh, absolutely. No, 100%. No, I knew they were, and I was just like,
yeah,
man,
I know.
I wish I was just 2 grades better. But no, I'm definitely with you there, and I think also, especially training with people who are better than you. I had this, I considered myself fairly average for a few years up until a certain point, and then I made a decision I have to be better.
Push through that.
Yeah, and I think it was the Hartford World Championships. We won't talk about that too much. No. That was.
I'm watching. I was at home watching that one.
Yeah, that was that
decision.
That was a very interesting course. But yeah, just watching everyone just get destroyed by this first obstacle, and the morale was just horrible. I had a game plan, and watching, obviously the video came out by the ninja whose name I will not speak, and I studied it and I went, okay, this is what I'm going to do. But then watching everyone fail, I think a lot of people were just getting down about it, and then that first obstacle was just everyone's minds was so wrapped in this first obstacle. Right. But for me, I was like, okay, no, I saw what you had to do. This is what I'm going to do. And then I did it. And I was super happy. I mean, mind you, getting past the third obstacle, no chance.
Well, that was the chucks, right?
Oh God. Yeah. Well, I mean, only I don't know, 10, 11 people maybe got past it.
Yeah.
Out of 330. 30 of us. But I think, you know, it was that moment I realized, maybe I'm not that bad. And then when I got back to Australia, I really focused on training with, you know, the best or the better
Mm-hmm.
ninjas in my state. And it's amazing. There's little technical things that you learn from training with people who are much better than you. Uh, you, the, you fast track, like your skill will just double and everything will just multiply so
Sure.
quickly. But I feel like a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people struggle with that, you know, with the idea of, you know, utilizing better people and training with them and not feeling
Mm-hmm.
insecure about yourself. Like
Yeah.
that's a real struggle.
Yeah.
So you
I
know,
told like to your point, like I remember this with soccer. Like if there was you know when there were teams that lacked skill or that you know weren't up to the same skill level as you, like it you had to make sure you weren't playing down to their level, you
mm,
know, because it's easy to play down and get sloppy. But to your point, taking advantage of training with people that will push you is huge. And you know, and it does make such a difference. And it sometimes yes, it can be intimidating because they make it look so easy. And then that's where I find myself sometimes, like in my head and vocalizing, like I'm making excuses as to why I can't do this or why I'm not at this level. And you know, I spend you know prior to the pandemic, I you know was working crazy hours and I'm not able to get to the gym and train every night because you know a lot of my job is after hours stuff or I'm still working late.
mm,
So, you know, I'd have maybe a night or two um, where I could get to the gym, but it may not be till 9 or 10 o'clock.
mm,
And then come back home and have dinner and work some more. But um, and I feel like my body just wasn't responding because I don't know that I've been like I'm not doing the proper warm-ups and like I'm not, you know, as I'm aging, I'm realizing I need to stretch a whole lot more. And you know, I can't just go right into a ninja gym and just start jumping on obstacles and swinging around like that. That doesn't work so well. And so, you know, I'm trying to rush through a warm-up so I can, you know, get to playing, but you know, that's more of a disservice.
mm,
So it's finding that balance, but you know, I want to get there and do it and be at a certain level, but I'm not doing the back end work to make sure my body is able to do that. And so then when I'm on obstacles, you know, I'm hurting a lot of the times, or I'm not, you know, I'm not stretched out enough, or I'm not warmed up enough. And again, these are excuses. And it's just trying to maximize my day and fit, you know, some kind of activity in the midst of work. But no, it's, you know, in my head, I want to be at a certain level, but I haven't put in the work to be at that level. So I have no one to blame but myself
mm,
for that, you know?
mm. No, 100%. Um, I don't know what the situation is in regards to obviously, you know, more women being involved in ninja in America. Over here, it's from the kids' point of view. I mean, I would say there's a lot of girls that do it, or a lot more girls that would do it than say adults. But we don't have a massive contingent of women that do
Really?
ninja. No, no, I mean, not as big as, you know, one would like.
Okay. Do I need
But
to become Australian? Do I need, do I need to come out for more than one reason? Get out of this country?
maybe, maybe, maybe.
Touch
Uh,
base after in November.
wait, wait, wait till your winter starts, because then that's our summer. So that's
Perfect. I like
uh,
it.
I would say good luck getting into my state. My state's probably impossible at the moment with everything going on, but maybe some of the
Yeah.
other ones, which actually are probably sunnier too. So that might
Okay.
actually work.
I'm not opposed.
But do you think, uh, do you, I was going to say, obviously, you know, you've brought some things up about your childhood, which I think also probably resonate now with you, why you like ninja and why you're involved. You know, you were pushed by your was it your father or your grandfather? I just want to make sure.
My dad,
Your dad,
he
yeah,
was,
you know,
oh yeah, he was always having me push my boundaries.
yeah, he challenged you. He
Hmm.
challenged you to be better and to try things and explore, you know, new levels and new heights.
Yeah, and
Um,
he was always very, he's, and still to this day, very, there's nothing that I can't do. Like,
mm,
so he's very, very encouraging in that regard. I mean, in every aspect, to be quite honest.
yeah,
But yeah,
and that's
nothing.
really, yeah. No, sorry, finish your point. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just say there's he's always, encouraged me and let me know there's nothing that I can't do.
Absolutely, which is so important. Why do you think, and maybe that could be the simple issue, the simple reason is to, why do you think there's a, because I do notice there are women who come through, or not even come through, but they look at ninja, and even just when I look at on socials, and you know, someone shared a run and you're going through the feet, you know, there's a lot of, you know, women I've noticed who, you know, oh, I can't try that. That's too hard. You know, I'm not strong enough. Oh, I wish I could do that. You know, all these different things. And I'm thinking, you know, we have a lot of dudes that are like, yeah, man, I'll give that a go. And even if they're
Hmm.
not great, they'll like, oh man, I could
Hmm.
do that.
Yeah,
At least they're gonna get up and try. What do you
right.
think? What do you think holds back women in regards in this space? What do you
So are you
think?
saying there in, like, are you seeing that more in Australia than you are here in the States, or do you think that's happening in both places as somebody that
Well,
has a pulse on both in both countries?
Well, I can't speak for the US because I don't know what happens at local comps. I mean, I would say it is probably still majority men who
Hmm.
obviously do ninja. Here, definitely majority men. We don't have a lot of women who um, who do ninja, and then you know, out of those women, um, just being honest, a lot of the, you know, we only have maybe one or two that can genuinely contend with the
Yeah,
dudes.
yeah.
And I'm trying to work out, why is that so? What is stopping more women
Hmm.
from being able, and I'll use, you know, your Jesse Graffs and your Olivia's, for example. Obviously, Olivia has an exceptional gymnastic background
Hmm.
and Steph has a stunt background. But, you know, why don't we see more women being able to go to that level, or at least trying to really push for that level? I mean, I'm glad that they're at that level because it
Yeah.
gives a reference point. But I just thought maybe from your perspective, being a woman, maybe you've seen this, or maybe you've noticed, maybe spoken to other female ninjas or ladies who want to get involved in ninja. Do you have any thoughts or view on that?
Well, I will say, and again, I'm just gonna speak to my experience here in the States. I can't speak to Australia because I don't follow a ton of people there.
Mm,
But I've been doing ninja since 2015, and I will say the amount of females that are competing, even just like NNL comps and local comps, like that number is increasing every year.
oh, good.
um, which is great to see. And I think there's a lot of female women that have really just adopted this, and they love the challenge. And um, there's a number of women that I've met that, whether it be at camps, like pro camps or whatever, and we have adult sessions. Some women that they just want to give it a try. They're like, this isn't something I've ever thought that I'd be able to do, but I wanted in this safe space, give it a try. And I've done some female only clinics where it's just me and a couple other the female ninjas with some other females, just to make them feel comfortable and make it, because I think for some women, I personally can't speak to this, but I know for some women there definitely is an intimidation factor, not just amongst men, but amongst other females too. Like, because it's so easy for women to try to compare themselves to others.
Mm.
I know that's a huge thing. I think we all fall guilty of that from time to time, but some women, they fall into that really heavily,
Mm.
which is unfortunate. But giving, I've enjoyed doing some pro camps where it is just women, and giving them that support and encouragement to help them get up. It may not be the 14-foot wall, but maybe they're starting at the 10-foot warp wall, and just seeing those tiny little benchmarks, and each benchmark that they hit gives them that additional encouragement to push to the next level. And so it's just these incremental accomplishments that gives them confidence to keep pushing. And then they do these, maybe do some things at open gym or at or adult training or whatever, that gives them the confidence to say, okay, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do a local comp. Like, I've seen so many women start that way. Like Shannon Pagliari out in Ohio. I remember the first competition she did. I mean, I don't think she got through the first obstacle, but she did it with a smile on her face. And now, like, she crushes it. She's down at MLab with Michelle. And I mean, she's just got this attitude that, she's so positive, she's so happy, and she's just so strong. And so it's amazing. Her, like Katie Tennant too, she trains, she actually just moved to, I think, Virginia, but she was training with Shannon in Ohio, and just, the two of them over the course of the last 3 or 4 years, like, they've just become super strong and confident, and it shows. But I think, I mean, here in the States, I really think, people like Jessie Graff have paved the way. Jessie Lebrecq too. I mean, they're showing that strong is a beautiful thing. There's something to be said about being strong. It's, back in the day, sometimes, girls with muscles were shunned or intimidating, but they're showing strong is a good attribute to have for a female. And look at season 12. I think we had 6 females hit a buzzer this season.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I mean, that right there, that's huge. So, and some new faces that hit buzzers. Like Tiana finally got hers. Ashley McConneville down in Florida, like, she had an amazing run. And then the names that we all know and love, like Jessie Lebrecq, Jessie Graff. Who else got Alyssa?
I just saw Maddie had a great run.
And Maddie.
That was sensational. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I mean, it's definitely starting, because I mean, last year was Maddie's first year, and I mean, hitting, coming out strong. So I think she got a buzzer last year too, right? In Seattle. If not, she was really close.
I can't remember. I think she made it to the 5th, if I remember correctly. I'm just trying to remember when I spoke to her.
But yeah, I mean, she did super.
She did very well. She still made it to the finals. Yeah. So.
And then here she is, as an ICU COVID nurse, and still coming out and smashing a buzzer. So it's so inspiring. Like, it's awesome to see women really taking it on, and just that, I think, is encouragement to other females that may not have been compelled to try something like this, but I love when it's the everyday people. It's not the people that are just training ninja full time. It's people like Maddie, people like Pauline, like, they're working intense, high pressure jobs, and they're still out and going out and crushing it. So that, I think, is amazing inspiration and motivation for the everyday female.
Damn, I wish I could just work and then just come out and just
right?
just crush. I wish I didn't have to train this.
Oh my gosh. I know.
No, I do love it. But yeah, no. So okay, that's very interesting points, especially about the potentially the female only clinics. From what I'm hearing, it's that support is very critical. Obviously the support in the community, it's critical for all of us. But I feel like maybe for women, from based on what you're saying, to get women over the line, it's important that they're with other women. And it's the focusing on those incremental
Well,
gains, I guess.
yeah, yeah. It's like golf. Do you ever play golf? I golf quite a bit, and
I've
it's
tried 2 times in recent years, and
yeah.
the amount of times I hit the ground, I've probably injured myself more
Oh no.
than hitting the ball. But yeah, carry on.
With golf, I mean, that's a challenging game. I've been golfing quite a bit this summer, and it's just that it just takes that one shot. You could be playing horribly, and then you just have that one amazing shot, and that's what brings you back for the next round. Like, you see that one shot. Now I'm starting to sound like Hamilton, um, but no, I think doing some women only groups, just because, one, it builds that camaraderie, it builds their confidence, it gives them more of, safe space is the wrong word, but it's just a level of comfort knowing that they're maybe participating and trying new things with other women that may be at the same level as them. So it alleviates that intimidation factor a little bit. So I think that's one way to start. If you're trying to get more females involved, I don't know if there's females out there that can lead some sessions, but just get a group of 5 or 6 women together, and they're going to be encouraging one another. They're going to want to see each other succeed, and you just set incremental benchmarks or successes, and once they hit those, then that's just gonna build their confidence and get them more comfortable on the course and get them ready to try comp. There's a gal, she lives in Indiana, and we used to do some pro camps followed by a pro competition with an amateur competition in Michigan years ago. And she's somebody that came to the women's camp, and she was saying, she's like, I'm crazy for doing this, but my kids want me to do it. It looks like a lot of fun. I'm sure I'm not going to do well, but I mean, she did it. Like, she was getting up the the shorter warped wall. She was challenging herself. She was trying things that she wouldn't typically just walk into a gym and go try on her own. And then she signed up for the competition that weekend. And
awesome.
yeah, it was great. So it's stuff like that. I don't care how they do. I just love seeing them putting themselves out there, and it's putting the intimidation away, and there's a lot of, it can be scary, but working through that fear, it's a huge, that in and of itself is a huge success.
Oh, 100%.
Working through the fear.
Speaking of that, how do you deal with obstacles that intimidate you or that you might be scared of? What is your, I guess, process of getting over that?
Like a physical obstacle or like a life obstacle?
Physical obstacle, like an actual
Yeah.
ninja obstacle. So
ninja obstacle, like, I will typically game plan it. Like Ethan and Torres are 2 of my favorite, just to come up and strategize with. Like, if we're at local comps, like, we game plan and we go through strategically every obstacle and how we're gonna go through it. And then they know my strengths, my abilities, so they'll ask me typically, okay, how are you thinking about doing this? And then they'll give me feedback, and then if they think there may be a better way or a way that may work to my abilities better, they'll give me that idea. So no, it's talking through things. And something I personally, I need to work on my confidence more. And I'm saying this like I feel like I haven't competed in forever. So I feel like I'm like shaking off cobwebs trying to think back to like competition times. But I'm working through my own confidence issues. And I think that all goes back to what I was saying earlier, is the training. Like, I have not, in the last 2 years, when it comes to ninja specific, I I haven't trained anywhere near as much as I would like to. Like, looking at Tiana on Instagram, like I've told her this a few times, like I envy her schedule. Like all the training that she does, and she's got her trainer and she's got her rehab and all that. Like I want that schedule. I want that life for like 8 months. Like just put my job on hold for a year and then just live that life for a year. Like I would, not realistic, but I would love that. So, it's, I need to, in my own head, get to a better place of, okay, based on the amount that you train and based on the amount of time you actually have to train, set some more realistic expectations for yourself. This is me speaking to me.
Yeah.
So that's something that I, when I, prior to things shutting down, that was something I was, starting to work through a little bit.
No, absolutely. Did you say you competed again? Did you compete on another season?
I competed in season 10. Competed in season 10 last year. I was doing a Dancing with the Stars type event here in Chicago. So that was, I had committed to that before the regions were announced. And then,
okay.
And then I called Peter and told him that I had a conflict because we were supposed to, the Cincinnati regions were, of course, the same date as this dancing event.
Man.
So I called, he was trying to get me moved to the Atlanta region and it did not work out.
Oh, man. So how was season 10? So obviously from season 7, you've had a few more years in. How did you then approach season 10?
Season 10, like I felt better going into it because I knew what to expect. Like just in terms of like the entire few day process, right? So I knew how to prepare, for one, just for the time shift, and to be up overnight. But I did actually run early. I ran before lunch in Indy. So I was before midnight, which was lovely. And I felt really good about it. I felt really good about the obstacles. Number 2 is cannonball drop. I was comfortable with my strategy with that. And, I fell on the dismount. So I went out on the second obstacle again. And that one was even harder to swallow than the first time around. But I wouldn't change anything about my strategy going into it. Like, I had, because we were all, strategizing and talking, because it's the cannonball that has the wide neck. And we were talking either interlock it or cross hands. And Rachel Goldstein had that same obstacle earlier in one of the earlier regions. And so I called her and just asked her like what her technique was, because she got on there really good. She hung on, because that was in, I want to say that was Atlanta. That was in Atlanta that same season, but they had it like in the finals. And so I was talking with her like interlock or over grip, and I wanted to just cross hands because I felt like if I was like this, it might be harder to pull my hands apart. So I got up on it, got my knees in, and so I was hugging it. And then that first drop, like I felt my hands open just a little bit. And then the next drop, I felt them open a little bit. And then the third drop, I'm like on the side. And I remember thinking like,
don't let go.
One more second. And then next thing I know, I'm wet. Like I didn't know that. Like seeing my parents afterwards, my mom's like, how's your neck? I'm like, why? She's like, you smoked your face on the mat and then went back in. Like I didn't even remember that. So going back and watching it, I'm like, yeah, I did it pretty good. And my neck was sore for a few days afterwards, but yeah, I just remember and that's where it's like I was just that close, because I felt good about about the next two obstacles. I mean, I felt good about the next obstacle, but then the balance was rumbling dice. So that that's a 50-50. Just close your eyes and run. But so no, I felt really good about it, and then that one was incredibly disappointing.
Yeah, I can understand. I can relate.
Yeah.
I had a moment. I think it was my second season where obviously I was prepared. I was feeling good. My season one performance was good considering I didn't have any proper experience. So I was feeling good about this. I knew what I was going to do. And then third obstacle, just the technique I had was slightly off. Got past it, but they said in the rules you weren't allowed to touch. It was the Bridge of Blades. I don't know how long it's been since that's been in the US, but you're not allowed to touch it with your hands. And it came out of nowhere, and I went, crap, and touched it and got across, and they DQ'd me. So that was probably the hardest pill to swallow, because it was just like, I felt like the rest of the course, that's it. I'm on my way to a buzzer. So I know that feeling oh too well. And obviously, and for me, that was the last time I've been on the show. So it's like I've been itching to redeem myself.
I know that feeling.
But it's funny what you're saying about confidence. I was having the same problem. And I remember going into season 3, I didn't get on.
Because you've done 2 seasons?
So I've done 2 seasons.
Okay.
I've auditioned for all of them, but I didn't get on season 3, which jolted me because I had been used a lot over the years in the media and whatnot. So in my own head, I thought I was a lot safer than what I thought I was, which wasn't the case. So I didn't get on. I course tested, and I was like, didn't want to disappoint, but then I was too afraid of failing, so I ended up failing all the time. And I think what you said sort of hinted at it about having that plan and committing to it. And I think ever since I realized that, that's made all the stuff ups okay. I say to myself, as long as I stick to the plan, the goal is, yes, to hit a buzzer, but the goal is to execute the plan that I created and not react.
Exactly.
Unless the reaction is needed, like, okay, I need to adapt the plan.
That was just going to be my next question. Yeah. Like, how are you, you can come up with a plan, but you also have to be able to pivot from that plan and be comfortable because there are times where you're going to have to realize, okay, this plan isn't, you could be mid obstacle and you're like, this plan's not going to work. Yeah. How do you pivot away from that versus just force the initial plan?
Yeah. So as long as I execute to the strategy, whether there's adaptations in there, if I fail, then I don't feel as bad as I used to, because my mission is to never, ever, ever again let a single obstacle never let an obstacle be bigger than what it is.
That's good.
I will never allow myself again to be intimidated by an obstacle, no matter how hard it is.
Sure.
And I've really tried to reinforce that. It doesn't matter how many people fail. It doesn't matter how complex it is. I will do my best to not allow it to get to me, because then I know it's already over.
That's a good mental space to be in.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, for you, I don't know, maybe it might help, but yeah, for me,
I know. I think that's something that's a philosophy I need to adopt.
But it's the stubbornness, if that makes sense. Right? It's the stubbornness of saying, I don't give a crap about how hard this obstacle is. I will not be, this is beneath me, so to speak. Like, I'm above this.
Yeah. I hear you.
So yeah, I don't know. I've always had a stubbornness with what I want to do something. I don't like to allow something to beat me, I guess.
I I know that feeling very well.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Mhm.
season 3 for me, as a tester, was terrible. It did really badly. And then, going forward, I adopted this new mentality, and it's really changed things. Obviously, I haven't competed on the show since, was going to, and then the world ripped it from me.
Right.
But I think no matter what now, going into the show, I think no matter what happens, um, I think as long as you hold that mentality, you will feel a lot more relaxed, I think. And again, I haven't been able to put into practice in recent
Mhm.
years, but I think it will hold true. So I don't know, maybe that might help.
I like that. That's the piece I'm taking away from this today.
um, so I guess, for you, what's next? Obviously, everything with they film, they have their because you were there, you were
Uh-huh.
at the, but
Yeah.
you weren't competing. I think you told me, you said you had an injury or something.
No, I was just there working, like I was helping with I'm part of the Ninjas for Black Lives group.
Yeah.
So so I was down there and then also just hanging out with I stayed at so Jamie and Kim, Ron live there. So I went
Oh, of course. Yeah, 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 yeah.
and just hung out there for the week.
Yeah, awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, did you try and get on for season?
No,
No, you
not
didn't.
no. Mm-mm. No. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't ready.
Okay.
So yeah, I didn't feel like I'd be putting my best foot forward just because lack of training and I just wasn't ready for it or wasn't
Mm.
going to be ready for it. So so I didn't want to roll the dice and then potentially get called and just not be prepared.
It's funny you say that because looking at what the courses have been the
Mm-hmm.
last four episodes, they all look very fun. But part of me is also like, you know what? Maybe it was good that I didn't get on.
Yeah,
These
yeah,
obstacles are just nasty. I mean, they look awesome, but they just look nasty. I think the worst
yeah.
one I saw was this one. I don't know what it's called, but when you run across it, the thing just moves away. It's like,
Oh, the ribs,
oh
the
God,
yeah, what something that like the running ribs or something. Yeah,
oh man,
rib run.
what on earth?
My groin's ripped just watching that. Like,
Oh, everything ripped for me. And I'm thinking, I'm like, how on earth is someone my height going to be able to do that? Obviously, his name, I know his name is Gnarly Nate, but I don't know what his full name is.
oh yeah,
Um,
Nate.
yeah. And I watched his run and went, okay, all right, no, it's doable.
Yeah, yeah. But it was
Okay.
like you gotta hit those pads so precisely.
Oh man, yeah. So yeah, I'm
Hmm.
I'm I'm partially glad. Part of me is glad I didn't actually get invited back, which wouldn't have been possible anyway. But
Right.
then also part of me is like, oh man, I would love to have tried some of
Hmm.
those things.
It.
So I guess for you now, I guess season 13 or 14, or
Mhm.
what is
I don't
now
know.
then
So
your
I
focus
still
point?
haven't. Ultimate Ninjas is open. I haven't been back yet. Um, I work out every day. I've actually been leading a group um, of my coworkers. We do a half-hour workout every morning. So we're 6 months and 3 weeks in on a Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 8. We do high intensity interval workout. Weights, abs, core, and plyometrics, and we get a solid sweat in those 30 minutes. So,
Pull-ups, I hope.
what's that?
I said pull-ups, I hope as well.
Not for them. Those I move like my pull-up bars is there in the back.
Yeah, nice.
But no, those I have to do on my own. But so I do that every morning. Then I usually at night I'll do some TRX and a couple pull-ups. I need to get back on it. Um, and then, but I haven't climbed. I haven't been to a ninja gym. I was at Solenzi's house the other day, and he's got, I don't know if you've seen his setup, but he's got
Oh,
this trampoline, this in a
yeah.
two-story living room. So I was playing on that and like getting on the hangboard and the pipes that he's got up the wall. And I mean, I was doing that for maybe 10 minutes. I was sore for 3 days. Like,
Wow.
just like all in here like that. It's just not, I'm not used to being not
Yeah.
used to that anymore. So, you know, I need to get back. I want to get back. My parents and I are going to Mexico in November. So they've got a place down there, so we're just going to get out of here for a couple weeks and go chill out down there for a little bit. So, yeah, I'm not going to do anything until then. I don't want to take the chance and the risk of potentially getting sick. So I'm in my head, I'm thinking when I come back from Mexico, I'll start going again.
Yeah. Okay. And what's your, obviously we talked about the confidence. So what obstacles or what things do you think you need to focus on so that you can have a successful season and make it to the wall? What do you think?
At this point, everything. I feel because I haven't. So first week in March was the last time I was at Ultimate Ninjas. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so it's been a minute, and I wasn't even really training consistently then, because I had done something to my shoulder. Funny story. I was at Wrigley Field a year ago. It was the first week in November last year, and I had the opportunity to go out and do batting practice at where the Cubs play at Wrigley Field.
Awesome.
And you know, so we were doing batting practice, and then we got to go to the bullpen and throw against the gun to see how fast we could throw. And you know, I'm thinking I can just start whipping it as I did and hit where I was 25 years ago. And you know, it's 45 degrees. I haven't warmed up, and I just start throwing hard.
Oh.
I messed my shoulder up a little bit, and I kept going because I wasn't anywhere close to where I thought I would be, so I just kept going. And the first pitch I threw, I'm like, that was a horrible idea. That really hurt. And I kept going. And I kept going. And I threw probably 7 or 8 pitches. And finally, like, you're just chalk it up to a loss. You're not going to hit that number. So, so after that, my shoulder was pretty messed up. I ended up getting some steroid shots in January. And then, but those helped. The cortisone helped. And was doing some PT. So I wasn't doing a ton of ninja from like November to February, and then I just started getting back into it, and then we shut down. So
yeah.
So I'm basically right now saying I've been off basically a year. I haven't done ninja in basically a year.
Yeah, wow.
So it's gonna be a long road back. I'm very grateful for the Masters division. But that was also kind of like a mental thing. I was like, it was such a tweener, as I like to say. You know, I was getting smoked in the pro division, but the Masters wasn't challenging. So then I started. I'm like, well, you know, what makes more sense? Just to go like to get whipped all the time in the pro division, or you know, go do the Masters where there may not be as much competition, but then it's not as fun. So it's, you know, because it's not, I'm not being pushed then to train. So that I kind of had answered the question for myself, like, you need to just, you know, go back to pro, and that should, you know, hopefully be my motivation to start training harder, or training better, training smarter, training more. So yeah, I think, you know, when I get back to it, whenever that is this winter, it's, you know, it's going to be just a very cautious approach. Just getting the basics back, just getting some grip strength back. So I'm probably not going to be like pushing myself like crazy, but just doing the basics, getting the fundamentals down, and getting comfortable with those. And once those, I've got to build a base. And, as my cross country coach used to say, you got to put the hay in the barn. So it's going to be a couple months of putting that hay in the barn and getting that base built and getting reacclimated to that type of training.
Well, you better put some more effort into those pull-ups then right now, so that
I know. Like, it's in my living. It's no excuse. There's no excuse. So I will do, like, Brian Crutch gave me a great pull-up like practice training, just to work on max pull-ups. Because I think right now I can do, I think, maybe 10 pull-ups.
Okay.
But that's probably a stretch. So I'm open to it. What do you do? What do you suggest for pull-up training?
I was just saying, I got my bar there.
Yeah.
In my room, so there's really no excuse.
No.
Well, I think first of all, before we get the full pull-up, you got to make sure you've got, good scapular stability. Which, a lot of those, exercises.
Were you just here and pulling from here?
Pull, but then also getting the band, pulling back as well, because.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because you've obviously, when you're pulling up, you've got your lats being the dominant muscle group working. When you're pulling yourself up vertically, and your lats actually are a huge shoulder internal rotator because of the way they wrap in and attach. So overdeveloped lats actually can cause shoulder problems because of the way the tendons and everything wrap around on the inside. It actually internally rotates the shoulder. So
interesting.
You need to make sure that you have very strong, or to compensate, rhomboids and middle traps, which obviously position themselves in between the shoulder blades and help focus on pulling them back. So you want to make sure that you warm up those muscle groups specifically, more so because lats obviously are bigger. They'll tend to dominate. So and making sure that when you pull up, because even I can get lazy, making sure you're really squeezing them together at the top. Because it's quite amazing how much, when you don't focus, what muscles actually end up working predominantly, and you'll know because you'll know how sore you are by the next day.
I use more bicep than anything.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like a lot do. Even I do this sometimes. So I've got to be mindful that when I'm pulling up at the top, what am I engaging? What am I squeezing? What am I pulling? And even things like, okay, I got to squeeze my butt, push my hips forward, which will help me tense my abs better. Trying to do pull-ups while squeezing your butt, tensing your abs, and squeezing your back, you're just making life difficult.
Right. And you're thinking about it so much.
Yeah, so much, and it takes so much more effort to do the rep than if you just let's just bang them out.
Yep.
Just do as many as you can. So just little things like that, I find just sort of help with the corrective side. I mean, there's so many ways to go about it and to work on it. But I think, like you said, the hay and the bone, like you need
build that base.
You need scapular or shoulder blade stability.
Yeah.
First and foremost. So.
Yep. Okay.
And there's good supplementary exercises you can do as well, like if you have access to weights or even body weight, proper horizontal rows, whether your body is horizontal, so facing up and you're pulling yourself up, using your TRX, for example, or you're face down in a prone position with
Yep.
dumbbells, with weights. Those are really good ways to build up
Okay.
your rhomboids and middle traps, just because of the way the body's positioned. Because if you're doing pull-ups, you're going to predominantly use your lats. I mean, they're going to be the biggest muscle groups that are working.
Sure.
Whereas when you are horizontal and you have to pull yourself up, your scapula and the muscle groups there are now in line with gravity. So as you're pulling yourself up, those muscle groups have to work harder. And if they're not working, well, then that's when you realize you've got the compensation issues. So that's how you discover muscle weaknesses, when you put your body in the positions where those muscle groups should be maximized and they're not working. That's when you realize, shit, okay, it's my podcast. I can swear. I can do whatever I want. I shouldn't, but because I know kids listen. But that's when you realize, oh, I've got problems here. So I think the biggest way to know if you're going to have a strong pull up is if you put yourself in a horizontal row position and you pull. Do you shrug and bring your ear? Do you bring all that up? Do you feel your actual shoulder blades? Yeah, pulling together. Where do you feel that tension? So,
and I like to pretend I'm trying to pinch a pencil.
Exactly. Exactly. So, I think in regards to the pull up, the best way to get the pull up is to do it plus the supplementary stuff around it.
Yeah.
To help.
I like so I've just got that standard bar, but I've got my the grip board, the hang board as well. I like doing my pull-ups more on the grip board or on my hang board than I do the actual bar.
No, absolutely. It definitely changes. It changes everything. When you change your different grips and whatnot, it changes how the forearms work, which then carries on. It changes how you might work different aspects of the same muscle groups. Because all the fibers in the muscles can run differently. So when you change, we'll use a push-up or a bench press, for example. When you're doing incline, decline, the fibers of the pec run off differently based off where it's positioned. So, you have your upper pec, sort of the fibers run a little bit up, and then the lower side of the pec fibers run a bit down. So when you do things on different angles, you build up the muscle in different way. And that's why bodybuilders do all these different isolated exercises, because they're trying to build up a more fuller muscle. But in our case, what it's doing is it's helping to bulletproof the body more. So when you mix it up and try all these little things, like your body's getting used to different tolerances, different loads, and also and all sorts of things.
Interesting.
I could keep going, but I don't think people want to hear about this. We can talk about it, but what I'll do is I'll end the podcast. But thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. I really appreciate it. It's really nice.
No, absolutely. This was so great. It was so lovely to get to know you and speak with you.
Oh, absolutely. And I definitely look forward to watching your sort of ninja journey and everything going forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And likewise. So when would be your next season?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I'm not too sure what's going to happen. Everything depends. We will have another season 5, but I don't know what's going to happen with America.
Got it.
Whether or not I can get into the country. Well, legally, I'm a citizen of both countries. Obviously, that's the only reason why I can even compete on the show. So I cannot be denied entry into either country. It's just a matter of either flights. I know I got to quarantine each way. I've got to pay to quarantine here. I'll tell you after this. It's complex. So there's a lot of money that needs to be spent. So I got to work out. Yeah, I got to work out what's the best way. But thank you so much for coming on. And I hope
you're so welcome.
Hope we do this again. Absolutely.